It's in here. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalists of Southold. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whoever you love, we welcome you. Today we are gathered on the traditional lands of the Amanhasset Nation. My name is Randy Wade and I'm a member of the board. We are so glad to see you, whether you're visiting for the first time or come often. If you are not on a mailing list or email, please sign the book on the wooden table in the entry hall, and you will learn about all the fun things that we're doing throughout the week. And the free spirit, thanks to Mary and Georgianne. There's also other information in the entry hall. Please like us on Facebook page. We stream on YouTube, where you can find past services as well as this right now. Please stay after service for coffee and refreshments. On the back of your order is service or announcements. And I just want to call your attention to the fact that next Friday and Sunday will be another piano concert at 5 p.m. And I was so sorry to miss this last one, but Margaret told me about it, and Georgianne and Margaret helped close up afterwards, and I hear the place was packed. It was so great. Yoga meditation Tuesday at 10:30, and you'll walk out feeling so refreshed. And then the Social Action and Eighth Principle Task Force meets at 4 p.m. on the 12th, and you'll see the rest in there. Are there any other brief announcements on the life of the church? Oh, and if anybody likes to weed, I really need help.
I just want to remind everybody that there's a goods and services auction coming up, and please donate or go to your local vendors and have them donate. I'm sure you all have wonderful treasures in your home that you're willing to part with for a good cause. So sign up outside. Thank you.
And now is the time to greet your neighbor. Now, if you could join me together as we light the chalice, and where it is the chalice? At times, our own. For the beauty of the earth, this spinning blue-green ball, yes. Gaia, mother of everything, we walk gently across your back to come together again in this place to remember how we can live, to remember who we are, to create how we will be. Gaia, our home, the lap in which we live, welcome us. And now, if you could rise as you can or in spirit, for hymn 131, Love Will Guide Us. And now if you could say the words of affirmation with me. Love is the spirit of this church, and church is love. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now the morning offering will gratefully be received.
one is alone. People make mistakes, fathers, mothers. People make mistakes, holding to their own, thinking they're alone. No one is alone. Honor their mistakes, everybody makes one another's terrible mistakes. Bridges can be bright, giants can be good. You decide what's good, you decide what's right. Just remember, someone is on your side, someone else is not. While you're seeing your side, maybe you forgot they are not alone. No one is alone. Hard to see the light now. Just don't let it go. Things will turn out right now. We can make it so. Someone is on your side. No one is
Now is the time where I invite you to come up and put a stone in the water for a sorrow or a joy. Okay, here's one for David. This has never happened before. Oh, thank you.
I'm Eva. I really enjoyed hearing that song sung by No One Is Alone. Our joy is continuing to spend more time with my big sister, who I've known since I was 5, up in Westchester County, and a concern. She's 81, so I'm concerned for her.
Oops, sorry.
I'm still choked up from that last song. I'd like to just send a prayer out for my friend Chris, who is supposed to come with us today, and he has Parkinson's and he's having a hard day. So, to anyone that is having a hard time today, and that's for that. And I would like to say thank you to music.
I'd like to express a joy for an email I received this week from the Green Sanctuary, the UUA. They're going to do an entire series on how to keep our sanctuary green and save our planet. Anybody who's interested in that should go to the Siding with Love in the UUA and sign up. I think this is a very important thing to do, especially in view of what we're talking about today. I'm Susan.
Let us remember there are always joys and sorrows that go unspoken for many reasons. And now, if you could read the italics for 532, the music of the spheres. The music of the spheres, a harmonious universe like a harp. Its rhythms are equal, repeated seasons, the beating of the heart. Day and night, going and returning, migratory birds. The cycles of stars and corn, the mimosa that unfolds by day, folds up again at night. Rhythms of moon and tide, one single rhythm in planets, atoms, sea. And apples that ripen in the mind. Melody, accord, arpeggios, the harp of the universe, unity behind apparent multiplicity. This is the music. And now I'd like to introduce James Witker, who's here and with his family. Please introduce yourselves at coffee hour and read about him in the program. James.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to be here visiting, and thank you again, Randy, for inviting me. This is my first time in visiting your congregation and seeing your brand new building, which is really beautiful. This is my son, Emerson, who is turning 7 in a few months. We are members of the UU congregation of Santa Monica in the Los Angeles area. That was a beautiful responsive reading that I was not familiar with, so I'm so glad that I got to hear that. So I want to start with a reading that is a text that I see it as kind of its own kind of meditation as well. I just want to give you a little bit of context first. I'm betting that some of us saw the new photos of the Earth and the Moon that were taken by the Artemis mission in this past year, right? Those shots of the planet Earth, especially from the Artemis spacecraft, recall the original earlier images that were taken by the Apollo astronauts, especially the famous Earthrise photo from Christmas Eve in 1968, which was one of the most remarkable views of our planet that had ever been seen, seeing the blue marble rising up out of the blackness of space. That photo has been said to have had wide-reaching cultural impact, including helping to galvanize the first Earth Day and the sort of birth of the modern environmental movement. In February of 1990, a different kind of photo was taken. The first Voyager spacecraft, having traveled through space for many years, capturing stunning up-close images of Jupiter and Saturn, was now on the verge of departing our solar system into deep space. One astronomer who was advising that mission had the idea of turning Voyager's little camera back toward home for one parting glimpse before it passed on forever. The resulting image was named the pale blue dot. So I invite you, if you would like, to perhaps close your eyes and visualize this image that I'm going to describe to you. The photo is mostly blackness and a bit grainy, and because the camera is pointed at the sun, there's some sort of refraction beams that are coming up from the bottom. But there, behind one of those streaks of light, smaller than a single pixel, is a tiny, tiny little dot. It's just faintly blue. And the following are the words that astronomer Dr. Carl Sagan wrote about this 1990 image. Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, economic doctrines, and political ideologies, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. The earth is a very small stage in a vast arena. Think of the blood spilled by all those generals and emperors so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this point of pale light. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is hardly a hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, that our species could migrate. Visit, yes. Settle. No, not yet. Like it or not, the earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. So 2026 marks 30 years since the passing of Carl Sagan. Do folks remember Carl Sagan? But I feel like I'm seeing him more than ever these days. It's a proliferation of memes on social media, video clips, quotes about issues and problems that are still very much on our mind. And I think this is an example of what happens with the words and deeds of prophetic people, in the words of the second UU source. Prophetic voices have a way of coming back to us when they are needed. Sagan, of course, was a longtime planetary scientist at Cornell University, but he became widely known and famous for achieving a unique celebrity status as a popularizer of science. There's really no one before him who occupied such a place in pop culture, and arguably no one really of that stature since. Through his numerous best-selling books, his groundbreaking PBS series Cosmos, and his many other TV appearances, like on The Tonight Show, even an Earth Day special with the Muppets in the 90s, he brought astronomy and science into everyone's living rooms from about the late 70s into the mid-90s. He was famous for his exuberance about space exploration, for talking about billions and billions of stars and galaxies, right? Even if it was actually Johnny Carson parodying him who said that, it was not him, and he liked to point out that he never said billions and billions. And he was certainly a heroic figure to kids who liked astronomy and science when it wasn't really that cool, like me. But he really was driven by something deeper than that notoriety and beyond his special talent for communicating the wonders of the universe. And as the pale blue dot illustrates, at the heart of Carl Sagan's work was a passion for the adventure of science, for its importance to society and what it means for humanity, what discoveries about our planet and our universe teach us about ourselves, and how all of this helps guide us to a better world. Another way of saying that is that at the heart of Carl Sagan's life and work was a passionate and committed humanism. And that's where an interesting connection to Unitarian Universalism comes in. So there are two main texts that are often cited as defining to 21st century humanism. One is the original, updated several times, Humanist Manifesto, Humanism and Its Aspirations. The other is the UN International Declaration of Human Rights, which some folks may be familiar with. I make the case that pale blue dot piece is really the text that brings alive the heart of a humanist worldview, as well as the spiritual side that was really important to Carl Sagan. In 1981, Sagan received the Humanist of the Year award from the American Humanist Association. And as is often the case, the philosophy of humanism that he espoused was not always in name. And that's been true for many other, for example, winners of that honor, including people like Kurt Vonnegut, Margaret Atwood, Bill Nye, Gloria Steinem, just to name a few. The thing about understanding humanism to me that can be sometimes tricky is that it's not always presenting as something called humanism, that its proponents are often advocating for things like reason, science, human rights, and a more healthy and just world. And I mention this because I think that if the ideas of pale blue dot resonate with us deeply now, that can help us to see a deeper connection between humanism, Saganism, which is the name of a new online group celebrating Carl Sagan, and the heart of modern Unitarian Universalism than we might otherwise realize. So just to mention a little bit of historical context, humanism as a philosophical tradition, I think, can be seen as an undercurrent through history, beginning in ancient times, emerging in many ages through people who questioned authority and resisted inherited dogmas, as well as resisted the political or religious oppressions of their time. In the West, that's a history that is intertwined with the history of Unitarians and Universalists, who were heretics and reformers in Europe, and later proponents of democracy and religious freedom in America and the young United States. What we call modern humanism, sometimes referred to as secular humanism or congregational humanism today, largely emerged from a group of early 20th century Unitarian ministers who articulated a perspective that they saw as the successor to their Unitarian and Universalist spiritual heritage and a continued evolution of liberal faith. They said that science and social change had disrupted older belief systems and that religions the world over were coming to terms with vastly increased human knowledge in many areas, and the understanding of a world very different from the one their forebears knew or thought they knew. And this was well before any rocket ship had gone into space. They called for a human ethic larger than nations, a recognition that humans were part of the natural world, not apart from it. They said that the goal of humanism is a free, and universal global society in which people cooperate for the common good. Humanists demand a shared life in a shared world. And to make a long story short, by the mid-20th century, humanism had become a widespread movement within the then American Unitarian Association, perhaps even eclipsing the progressive Unitarian Christianity and the Transcendentalism that were dominant at that point. Unitarianism did not become exclusively humanist in name, of course, but these ideas helped to shape and deeply inform the UUism that we know today, with principles like the former 7 principles, like the inherent worth and dignity of all people, our place in an interconnected web of nature, the goal of world community with peace and justice for all. So, even if not always in name, this humanism helped to guide the journey of religious liberalism, to clarify its focus on social justice in this world, and to have greater influence in society at large through the movements for social change that it helped to influence and drive in the 20th century. Many UU congregations like ours in Santa Monica have historical connections to that Unitarian humanist tradition through ministers who served in the mid to late 20th century that helped to define the religious liberalism of that time. And so my reason for this slight historical tangent, other than the fact that I'm kind of a UU history buff, is that there's a long-standing rumor that Carl Sagan had attended the First Unitarian Society of Ithaca, New York during his time at Cornell. And it's a rumor that popped up in a number of places, and I have pursued it with some skepticism, because Carl Sagan was fond of saying that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. But I have heard from at least one minister that I know who reports that Jack Taylor, who served that Ithaca congregation from the 70s through the mid-90s, and who was renowned for his deep and intellectual sermons, knew Sagan and said at least occasionally he would see him slipping into the back rows to listen to what he had to say on Sunday mornings. And it intrigues me because while Sagan is such an inspiration to modern humanists and progressives and many Unitarian Universalists, I had wondered if he in turn might have previously been exposed to some of those ideas of the first generation of humanists, and then gone on to help to amplify and pass those ideas along in his work. Because I hear echoes in common with the way that he formulated some of his ideas and what the way they framed and talked about humanism. For example, I really hear it at points in the Cosmos series, like at the height of the Cold War in the early 1980s, when he's amplifying concerns about the specter of nuclear war, what it meant in the larger picture, something that was very much on the minds of religious liberals and other activists at the time. He talks about, shouldn't world leaders mired in nationalist fervor and military aggression take on a larger responsibility for the planet? Isn't our ultimate human concern to be stewards of the planet and to ensure the continuation of life for all its inhabitants? In 1985, he famously lent his voice to the early debate about climate change, which was then known as the greenhouse effect. Testifying before a Senate subcommittee, including the young Al Gore, he explained that the scientific evidence was then clear that humans were perfectly capable of altering the climate through the burning of fossil fuels, and he warned the senators at the time that this was the kind of crisis that transcends the usual political cycles and requires global cooperation of an extent greater than we had been able to muster in the past, because of our responsibility to the future generations. As he said, we are all in this greenhouse together. And these were the things that were on his mind, among the things that were on his mind when he had the idea several years later to have the Voyager spacecraft take that image. So this humanist perspective that I'm talking about is not about what one does not believe, which is sometimes how humanism is framed, The pale blue dot is an image that I think calls us to humility. It is about deeply affirming what we really can know to be true with the best of our human tools and abilities, and a commitment to our most urgent needs. That was how the Unitarian humanists saw it, not as deconstruction, but about building our movements to be stronger. Carl Sagan was often asked about God. Where was God for him in this vast cosmos? He would often respond with a bit of a mischievous smirk and something to the effect of, well, what do you mean when you use the word God? He would say that to him, the notion of a light-skinned monarchical male deity residing up in the firmament somewhere with a white beard and tallying the fall of every sparrow was one that was a bit lacking in evidence. But he liked to point out that there are a lot of other ideas and expressions like the God that thinkers like Spinoza and Einstein referred to, that was something closer to the idea of the sum total of the laws of the universe. And he would say the laws of the universe are undeniable. And he famously spoke of a kind of spirituality, a spirituality as a connection to the universe out of which we come, the sense of reverence, mystery, and awe that come from the magnificence of the cosmos and our ability to explore it. He wrote, we are stardust contemplating the origin of stars, he wrote. We are a way for the universe to know itself. He also embodied what Reverend Dr. Kendall Gibbons calls the sternness of the humanist perspective. That's a sternness that lies in the starkness of that point of pale light, in the recognition that it is our human responsibility alone to solve our problems. In his later book, The Demon-Haunted World, Science as a Candle in the Dark, Sagan dwells on the importance of separating what is true from what we might want to believe. Comforting falsehoods, he cautions, can ultimately be dangerous. One point that for him was non-negotiable was the recognitions that humans do not occupy a special place in a hierarchy of nature. Believing that the world was made from us can encourage our greedy and destructive inclinations, he pointed out, and dangerously fools us from seeing the reality that we're just one part of a fragile ecosystem, and that the world and the universe can continue on without human beings. UU singer Peter Mayer, singer-songwriter Peter Mayer of Blue Boat Home fame, cites Carl Sagan as a source of inspiration for his cosmically attuned body of work, including Blue Boat Home. And he likes to point out that it was an amazing discovery that we are on a planet. We haven't known about this for very long, he likes to point out. And we did not always know this, and most of our religious traditions come from a time when we did not know that we were on a planet. We also did not know, could not have known, what Carl Sagan so excitedly celebrated, that the very substance of our world and all life comes from the stars, that the stars are actually our ancestors in a very real way. And while there is much inspiration from that cosmic point of view, the lonely speck of light captured by the Voyager camera also reminds me of something else Sagan once famously wrote. For small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love. This is where the good news comes in. Reverend Dr. Gibbons also writes that the good news of humanism is that the well-being of this planet and of our most widely conceived community is the good we are driven to seek. With the best of humanity's endeavors, humans have built democracy, abolished slavery, saved untold lives with science and medicine. We can shoot spaceships millions of miles into the void and land them on a perfect bullseye on another distant planet that is also hurtling around the sun at thousands of miles per hour. And this suggests that we can solve our human problems. The good news is also that you don't have to identify exclusively as a humanist to appreciate what is vital about the pale blue dot perspective and to have humanist or Saganist values. I think this is important because we need this perspective today, both in our world and in our UU movement, to be alive to the challenges of today, and especially to connect with younger generations. I think that we need to innovate and to have that humanism still remain close at the heart of our living tradition. Reverend Ernie Pipes was the minister of our home congregation in Santa Monica, California. And he was a minister of that generation of the mid-20th century who came out of that humanist legacy. He marched with Martin Luther King. He served as minister emeritus of our congregation into his 90s until just a few years ago when he passed away during the pandemic. And in his final sermon, he said some words that have stuck with me. He said, "Religious humanism tells us that we are all in this life together, that working together with love and sympathy, hand in hand, to heal our world and sustain one another across all boundaries of race, religion, and nation is, in traditional language, our only salvation." I think that is a saving message of humanism, of pale blue dotism or Saganism. The labels that we might use are less important than the message and the meaning, which is prophetic and which is still speaking to us. Thank you all, and may it be so.
If you could stand again as you were able, we're going to do one verse of Blue Boat Home. closing words are by John Brigham. Go your ways, knowing not the answers to all things, yet seeking always the answer to one more thing than you know. Now join me as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame.
And the earth is our blue boat home. Thank you so much.